Hey, before we get into the show, I just want to point out that on Nathan Fielder's YouTube channel, he put up a little rough cut of the pilot episode of Philanthropy, really just Act 3 of that pilot episode, which is the show within the show, of the curse. Um, and it shows some scenes. It's a really good watch. You should definitely go check it out, on the YouTube, if you haven't already. But it's basically just like if you were to watch the philanthropy show, right? And there's some scenes that we've seen already in like earlier episodes, but it's basically like showing you the viewpoint of giving you insight on this homeowner, right, who's gonna buy, or this guy who buys one of the houses. But then it also like shows the previous homeowner who they have to like basically evict, right? And they make it all look like nice and happy, like, oh, we're doing a good thing because we're gonna give her a nice place to live in and pay for her rent for a little bit. And they make her seem kind of appreciated, and it's like awkward and cringe, of course, if she's like, oh yeah, my family lived here, my mother died here, or my grandmother died here or something. And then the guy's like, oh, that's crazy. And so obviously, um, he doesn't really, care that much. He's like, I just want to get, have this nice home built on top of yours. And they make it, they like give her some, like, they explain like, oh look, this is the cool house we're gonna build here, that you're not gonna live here. You're the person who bought this land is gonna live here, or who bought this house. And she's like, oh yeah, that looks cool. And all she gets is basically some nice jeans and a candle. um, and being interviewed like, oh yeah, it's nice, and I'm grateful that I'm gonna be able to pay my new rent here. And they say for 18 months they're gonna subsidize the rent. So after that, she's gonna have to pay more. So they make it all out to seem like good, but obviously it's hysterical. Obviously it's like pretty shitty what they're doing, and they're oblivious to it. Um, but just a little snippet of 8 minutes of that, you know, like kind of like extended behind the scene, or like extended look, something you would probably see like in a DVD, extra features on a disc, on the TV show disc. You would probably find this on one of those DVDs. It's a nice thing to check out. But let's get into the actual episode. Let's get into that. Episode 7 of The Curse, which I feel like maybe this wasn't the best episode. I guess it wasn't like, it did feel kind of like, just keeping the wheels turning a little bit, progressing a bit, to get to some big episode probably next week or in a couple weeks. So it was a little bit of a low energy show in general, episode in general. But that's not to say that that was bad or anything. It just compared to the other episodes, this is probably maybe a little lull here in the season. But we did get some more insight on Whitney's relationship with Asher, right, and her, and them two, and they're kind of like, their marriage kind of like fracturing a little bit more, and how she feels about it. She gets interviewed, about it here. So we get more to that. We get more into how to her trying to get closer to Kara, and again her obliviousness to her trying to appropriate Kara's artwork, and being, and asking her to be a consultant for the show and stuff. But decent episode. But let's get into the actual spoiler breakdown, so we can go through it. I think it was a 45 minute episode too. It wasn't like, it was like a standard length, so still longer than last week's, which was like 30 something minutes. Yeah, so let's get into that breakdown. The breakdown. Put on a spoiler tag here. Okay, so first off, we start off with the little girl. She's at her gym class. She's, still upset, of course, obviously, about her classmate who bullies her all the time. She's trying to like get her to fall from the rope, and this whole time we're like, oh shit, the suspense is building. Is that rope gonna break? She's trying to curse her. She's trying to like, we've seen in the previous episodes that like, Asher was trying to test her on whether her curse powers were real, and I think she's starting to believe that maybe they are. His hand was bleeding in last episode, so maybe she felt like she caused that. So now she's like trying it out, and it doesn't really succeed, right? Her friend doesn't fall, and so maybe she's like doubting herself about her curse powers now. Her friend actually comes up to her after, not friend or classmate, after she herself fails to go up, and during that I was actually wondering, oh shit, is the rope gonna like fall now? Is she gonna actually hurt herself now, by mistake? But no, she just isn't able to get up. The girl tries to encourage her, like, oh, it's okay, maybe next time, etc., etc. And then doesn't respond well, and so the girl's like, well, I tried. So maybe she just wasn't being completely sincere about apologizing there, or getting on her good side. And she goes to the teacher, and it's like, she was bullying me, and he's basically doesn't really want to get into it. And it's basically, oh, as long as you're not getting physically hurt, you'll be fine. Just just believe in yourself, etc., etc. I think he's more concerned with his nuts or something. He's like eating something. He's like smelling some nuts. I don't know. It's kind of funny. But that's the cold open there. We'll get back to her at the end. And so now we go to Whitney, who's going to this like mini golf course where that racist, Native American figure, as we see there, is just there among the animals, in this little theme, this little golf course, mini golf course park, that Kara sent a picture of to Dougie, and we saw in the previous episode. So Whitney wants to take it down, she thinks it's offensive, and there's kids around, etc., etc. It's not good for the community. And so she uses her money to buy it off them, and get rid of it. And I also found it kind of interesting here, the little walk she does here, almost like she wants to be seen, as a savior. Like, oh look, I'm doing a good thing. Look at me. And so tries to put it in the car, but of course it doesn't fit quite well, and it does pop out as she drives away. And now just a little funny little moment where everyone has to see her putting it back in. I thought maybe there was going to be a little bit more to it, where like maybe someone would have taken a picture or something, and that would have looked bad on the internet, like, oh look, this woman's buying this racist figure. She's rocking out to some music in her car, and then we see that she's actually here to give it to Kara, but she's doing something quite stupid, really. And again, she's oblivious, she's unaware of how this looks, and how this little prank here of like, oh look, I'm gonna ring the doorbell and have Kara be shocked by this racist figure that she sent a picture of to Dougie. Of course, Kara's like, oh, this is some kind of racist prank or something, right? And she said she's gonna call the cops. before Whitney's like, oh wait, no, this is a joke, it's just me, um, unaware that this was kind of like very insensitive and a rude thing to do, to to someone with indigenous heritage, um, indigenous person themselves. And she's like, no, I just bought it for you so you could reappropriate it for your art, as Kara does. And then Kara makes a joke. It's like, oh, well, I'll just sign it and you can buy it right now. There you go. Kind of like making fun of Whitney for doing this little stunt here. Simple as that. And, Whitney laughs it off and it's like, no, you can do more with that. But really, she's here to get her to sign the release form so she can they can use Kara's art in the show, And Kara at this point, which has been obvious for a while that she's not sure about letting her artwork be in the show because of, as she reveals here, Whitney's parents, and she doesn't like how it looks for her art to be in a show involved in a show in which Whitney and her family are part of, or finance, who are known to be, take advantage of the poor people who live in their homes, right? Who are just awful landlords. Her parents, and so Whitney tries to explain that no, that I am against what they're doing. That's my whole life is like doing everything they don't do, and that's what I'm trying to do with the show, etc. And Kara, of course, is still reluctant. She doesn't quite buy the whole thing, and then Whitney tries to get on her good side by bringing up her marriage and how she feels a bit stifled and not and unhappy in her marriage with Asher, and how Asher is like concerned with the finances and she wants to like be more artistic, with the show, etc. And she feels kind of smothered by him, right? So I think to me she's kind of bringing, trying to relate to Kara on the grounds of being a woman, right? She's trying to like relate with her, like, hey, look, like I'm in this relationship with Asher. He's being kind of like an oppressive, like bad husband, So maybe in that way she's hoping Kara can relate, as a woman, That's my interpretation of this, And then Kara kind of like is understanding of that, like, oh, maybe it's true that Whitney has these more idealistic, artistic dreams with the show and with her life, and she's getting held back, right, by the husband, by the network. And then, but really, what wins Kara over and the day is that she offers Kara a position to be a consultant on the show, which was going to pay like 15 to 20K, right? And that gets Kara to think twice, like, oh, actually, as any artist, has to struggle with in this capitalist real life hellscape we live in. You have to sometimes wonder, like, oh shit, man, I guess I have to kind of compromise a little bit of my artistic principles in order to pay the rent, in order to survive in this world, right? I gotta make that money, and so that 20K is a lot, for Kara, and she's like, well, I guess maybe I can be an anonymous consultant. When he's like, nah, the show will probably want you to have your name on there because it's a big role. It's gonna be weird if you're anonymous, and so eventually Kara's like, okay, fine, yeah, we'll do it, Kara can always be like, yeah, I consulted, but they didn't listen to me or something. If someone were to like interview her about it or something, if the show turns out to be shit or something, like, but she's gonna get that money, right? Got to get that money. And then we move back to the corporate joke seminar classes, right? And he's trying to tell them to students about self-deprecating humor. Like that could be a good way to get people to relate to you and to make some jokes that can feel authentic and funny. And he goes over to Ash eventually, right, to Asher, and he brings up the running gag now of the show that he has a small penis, right? And apparently Asher told him in private that he had a small penis, and that was something he was insecure about. And so he's like, okay, maybe make a joke about that. And they both come up with these bad jokes, and it becomes some more cringe moments here. It becomes cringier and cringier, and other people here are like, okay, that's enough. That's kind of crossed the line. We don't want to hear about these dick jokes, these masturbation jokes, etc. And this guy here is like, no, let's continue. It's part of self-deprecating humor. It'll be good. That's a joke that's like commonly told in comedy and stuff. And so it's like, but so he's unaware of like how he's making people feel uncomfortable. And even this one guy's like, hey, like sexual assault victims wouldn't find that funny. Like it's we shouldn't probably go in that direction. Let's move on. But he keeps insisting, and then he puts the blame on Asher. It's like, okay, Asher told an offensive joke, et cetera, et cetera. So now Asher feels like he's been betrayed by this guy, and he gets pretty upset, And yeah, he's a pretty shitty teacher right here. And this scene here, I find Nathan Fielder's acting kind of like, maybe it's a bad take, but it kind of reached the limits here of his acting, perhaps, because his anger doesn't quite feels a little bit too dramatic here, right? Like just he gets basically angry. Like I think he's done better scenes before in earlier episodes where he was upset about that family, that couple that didn't want to buy the house. When he got angry, when he gets angry at the interview, in the first episode. This, however, I feel like a little bit too much energy here. But yeah, compared to maybe Oscar winner Emma Stone, it's probably not a fair comparison, but it's fine, it's all right, Then we get he comes back, he runs over, I think, on the driveway the food, right? Is that must be like his the chicken penne he orders, right? And then, so on the TV, we've got the casino scandal, right? So this is a continuation of the storyline from earlier, where he went and got that footage from the casino to show that the casino he used to work at was taking advantage of addicts, right? Casino addicts, gambling addicts, and taking their money without really turning them away, because according to law, like they have to turn away people who are addicted to gambling. And so your wind's a little bit because he missed the news segment. Whitney's, and I'm talking, I guess, maybe to the producers or somebody about it, angry about it, because as we're gonna see, Asher is in the footage himself, pointing and laughing at one of the gambling addicts, and so it looks really bad. Of course, you don't really see his face, so there's some plausible deniability, right? He could say like, "Oh, that was someone else," but I'm sure some internet sleuths could get a screen grab and could probably like tell that it's him, and like can make him look bad and therefore make the show look bad, and that would be some bad publicity for the show they're making here in this town, right? He doesn't seem too upset about it here, right? But it's like a funny little moment. Like he's like obviously laughing, and he tilts his head back and all that. But yeah, you wonder why he's not like. I guess it's just his character. He's not really showing that much emotion right now. He has more like explosive moments of emotion, as we saw earlier with him getting angry at his joke teacher. But obviously Whitney's upset about it, and he's trying to explain that like no, I was trying to tell him to, that I wasn't in support of this, and that we need to get her off the table. We need to get her to stop playing, and that he was like trying to be friendly and nice to the people there because it was he wanted to keep his job there, and have a good relationship with his coworkers, etc., etc. So it was like misconstrued, and he wasn't really laughing at the gambling addict. And when he doesn't quite believe it, she's worried that's gonna make her whole operation here look bad. So and again she gets a little message from her bank, I guess her credit card, saying that or her credit union, saying that she was charged again at Oshoka Jeans, right? Oshoka Jeans. So again, one of the workers has either charged her credit card for themselves, or because there's more lost shoplifting, and we'll see the fallout of this most likely coming up in some future episodes, I imagine. But it seems that like either there's just that's the regular, in most retail businesses, there's an expectation that there's going to be shoplifting, and so this could be a regular thing, or it could be something that perhaps the workers are taking advantage of. I'm not sure. We'll see. But either way, she doesn't seem too disturbed by it, because as we see, she can easily just get money from her parents anyway, right? On the way, I think, back to the film set, I think like we see these protesters, right? And they're protesting about this fraud, this yogi fraud, who's like I guess putting together these ceremonies, right? And we did see, I'm pretty sure it's the same like ceremony we saw Whitney bump into or stumble into in an earlier episode, where there was these people chanting in this little hut, right? With I believe they were with these Sikh turbans, and so that's what it looks like. It looks like that was just like a fraud, maybe even appropriation of it, in order to probably get some money or something from the affluent people in the neighborhood who were like trying to like get some spiritual awakening or something, right? So it doesn't linger on this too much, but there's a sense that, okay, this is going to come back later on, maybe, right? We're going to see this fraud later, or it's going to be a big issue in the media, like, oh, this like eco-friendly community that they're building is actually, there's probably a fraud element to it of the Sikh ceremony, and perhaps could it be a cult-like situation? Who knows where it's going to go, but it's interesting nonetheless, right? We'll see where that lends up. She doesn't seem to. Maybe it's like she's going to put that on her back burner. Okay, we'll think about that later. But now we're on set again, and this time we're going to have one of those talking head interviews, right, from reality shows, where we get inside the head of the characters, right, of the people. And so Dougie here asks her how she's, what's her relationship status with Asher, how are they doing? and she's just saying how like, oh, we've got there's like we've got some struggles, we've got it's a bumpy road, and all relationships have the issues, right? It's normal. And she talks about things that are relatable, the idea that like as you age with your partner, in your relationship, you sometimes hide things, and you start seeing different sides of your partner that haven't been accustomed to. You start wondering, if they're a different person than you thought they were, and then you don't want to like tell them everything because you're not sure how they will react and if they will support you. And so, so that's the stage of the relationship they're in right now, and she's feeling insecurities about it, right? And it's a scary moment for her, and she's wondering that perhaps it's not. She doesn't lay it out all clear, but it seems that perhaps she's considering a breakup situation, right? And Dougie even asks like, oh, but you're strong, you're gonna get through this, right? And she just says no comment. So this whole scene here, it definitely feels like there's truth to all this, right? There's truth to it, but it's also with cameras there, and she's aware there's cameras there. She's aware this is a whole a TV show. So to what extent is this for the show? Probably a mix, right? Probably a little bit of exaggeration, but probably also kernels of truth there. And when Asher finds out about it, she could probably be like, oh, like this is just part of the show. I'm not serious about it. I of course I want to stay with you. I was just, playing it up for the drama of this show that we're making. But as we see, with the fight they had earlier on, it's like, there's a lot of truth to this, to what she's, mulling over in her head right now. And of course, we cut to Asher now because it's going to be his turn, and we get another one of those funhouse mirror reflections, thanks to this fun house of a house they have here. And is this indicative of what he's feeling inside? Does he feel like a clown? Does he feel like a sad clown? Is he insecure about himself? Yes, he is actually. And now it's his turn to share his feelings, right, to the camera. On the way there, he sees that Whitney and Dougie are laughing, and they're having a good time. So, there's Dougie and Whitney. They're still having a good relationship here, right? They're on good terms, now for sure, as opposed to like maybe earlier on in the season where they were more at odds, right? And Asher feels left out. They don't tell him about the joke they were having, they were sharing, and he finds out about the Ashoka Jeans charges they're getting, like Whitney's getting on her credit card, and it's probably a shared account, right? And so, she's like, and she just bluntly is like, oh yeah, I gave them my card so they can charge me when someone steals, like, and he's like, oh, I guess that's a good idea, he didn't really think about it too much, but in the moment he's like, yeah, I guess that's good, and she's like, yeah, it's smart, isn't it? And so, of course she doesn't think it's, nothing bad's gonna come out of it, but now it's gonna simmer in his brain, and maybe he'll go to the Ashoka jeans shop next week or something, and he'll delve deep into that a little bit and see what's going on there, see if there's something he should be worried about. We'll see, and then, Dougie just kind of quickly tell the story, like, it's not a big deal, it's just a stupid little story I told her. And then the crew here is like, hey, we're going into overtime, so we gotta wrap this up. And it's like perplexed about this. Oh, you guys don't want to keep working? Okay, fine. And then he's like, well, we'll just end it here. And maybe this seems to be planned. Like Dougie, he says, oh, like Whitney went overtime. Like she went a little longer than we thought, so that's why it took this long, and that's why we're in overtime now. But it seems that it's better to just stop here, and we'll pick it up tomorrow. And perhaps that was planned by Dougie and Whitney because they don't want Asher's perspective. Really, they don't want, they don't think he's entertaining enough, right, for the show, and they want to focus more on the Green Queen. They want to focus more on Whitney, right? So that's what I'm getting from this, right? Of course, again, Asher feels left out. Asher feels like, oh, he's not being paid attention to. No one seems to think he's important enough, and he's already had the whole corporate joke session went bad earlier. Like all these things are simmering. He has these moments of impulsive anger. Like things seems to be building, so it seems that like he's gonna have a meltdown soon, right? Is he gonna lash out at Dougie? Is he gonna lash out at Whitney? We will see, but later on we do see that he's trying to improve himself. We'll see that, but first, we got a scene of basically Whitney, basically asking her parents for some money because she needs to pay Kara for that consultant job, right? So she stays in the car, but basically is just waiting for that 30K, but actually it's 40K. We'll give you 40K so you won't have to come back begging for money later, And of course she's like, oh no, this will be last time, and it's a loan for sure. And the dad's like, oh, well, okay, family loan or market rate loan. Ha ha ha. And so it turns out, yeah, that's the money she needed to pay Kara for this consultant job because she wants the show to feel somewhat authentic and official, right? To like and to be respectful of the culture, right? But it seems that the network doesn't really care about that. It's only Whitney, and so she's gonna have to pay for that out of her own parents' pocket, And so just like another bit of deception from Whitney in order to save face, right? And she's got this fridge safe here to put her money. She's like renting this place. Her roommate was like kind of in the way earlier. She's like kind of rudely, she's like, oh, I'm using the kitchen to her roommate, right? So maybe just shows a little bit more that Kara also has some flaws. She's not perfect. And of course we've seen that she's like compromising for that money, which is sometimes necessary in life, right? And then she goes ahead and agrees to sign the contract Whitney has been wanting her to sign this whole time, right? To feature some of the artwork in the background. And then she's gonna be the consultant. And then Whitney hears like, okay, well let's she's probably thinking, okay, we gotta bond a little bit more, right? I gotta bond with Kara a little bit more. That way she can feel a little bit more comfortable with me. And she suggests to play some ball, shoot some hoops, Apparently Whitney used to do that in high school or something, right? Or back in the day. And here they go. It's a little bit awkward bonding moment. And Ricard just definitely seems reluctant, but Whitney's paying her, so she probably feels compelled to be more friendly, right? And Whitney gets to have her friend here now. She gets to have her indigenous friend for her show, and she probably feels better about it. But the viewers like this camera from a distance peering in can see that like this is not authentic. This is just kind of like a fake friendship here, really. There it goes. Emma does one of her awkward dances she's known for, I think, by now, right? We saw her doing an awkward dance in Poor Things, and she's done it in other stuff too. Um, and there we go. Just some fun times shooting hoops with my friend. And then we got Asher, who it seems, or it's evident now, that he recorded the little confrontation he had with Whitney about the casino scandal, right? And he's taking some notes. He's like, okay, what should I do better next time? He wants to I guess, be a better arguer. He's trying to improve himself as a person, but really he's just trying to like be a better debater, a better get his points across better. In arguments with Whitney, he's like, agree more, nod and smile, be less combative, keep the past in the past, I imagine. Something softer tone, use softer tone, don't cut her off. Okay, so it seems kind of, he does want to be better at these conversations. We'll see how he improves or not. But that's this interesting take and different personality to Whitney, right? He's actually more of an analytical, like note taking studious type who's like, okay, I'm gonna try to improve by the book in a way, but it's very like, it's kind of like very robotic too. It's not very emotionally driven, it's more like let's do the right steps. And we go back, we end the episode back with this little girl, the cursed girl. And let's see, that was pretty kind of alarming, disturbing, right? Like the moment where the little girl like hits herself in the back here, like runs into the wall, like as someone who lives in the U.S. and there's constant news of school shootings and stuff, it really kind of made me think of that, and I was like, oh shit, like is it gonna go that far, this show? But she just bumped into the wall, right? She was running around and hits the wall here, and you do see some blood on her forehead, but it's just like in the background. You don't even notice. If you're not even looking, you don't really see it, right? And now she's like, oh shit, she did fall, I guess, technically. Bumped the wall and then fell to the ground. Did I do that? She's wondering. So maybe she does have some kind of supernatural power, she's thinking. I suspect it's coincidence, but in her head, I'm sure she's thinking, oh shit, maybe it wasn't like it came a little delayed, her wish to have the girl fall on herself, but it still happened, right? So what other curses and problems and hexes is this little girl gonna get up to and do in the future? How what awful and horrible things are gonna come to Asher and Whitney, and will they benefit this little girl? Maybe. I think maybe so. I think we can speculate, maybe the Asher and Whitney show will fall into ruins, and little girl will end up, the houses will be hugely discounted or be left unsold or something, and her family would be able to move in or something. I don't know. Maybe that's how the show ends. We'll have to see. But yeah, this episode, it wasn't again, it wasn't one of the most exciting episodes. Definitely a bit of a lull in the season. But that's okay. You're never gonna have a home run every single episode. And we've got 3 episodes left. And typically, in my experience with TV these days, it's those last 3 episodes where things really start to get kicking really hard, right? When we approach the climax and when big things start to happen, when everything starts to come together and all the pieces fall into place. So I expect, next week and perhaps the following one to be the most pivotal of the season. Of course, this is an unconventional series, so could be wrong. Perhaps maybe we're gonna wait until the final episode for the Big Bang, or maybe the final episode would be more subdued. Who knows? We'll see. But still enjoying it. Still enjoying seeing these characters, go through their lives and stumble around, trying to improve themselves or at least be seen as good allies, and stumbling and falling along the way. It's always entertaining to see that, right? We'll see how far they go. We'll see what more cringy moments await them. So we'll see. But yeah, that's episode 7, The Curse. See ya next time.